Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for what will be an amazing conversation we have lined up with Fabrice Tardieu, fashion entrepreneur and designer, founder of Fabrice Tardieu in Miami. I'm so excited to speak with you, Fabrice, and to learn more about the many interesting facets of your fashion entrepreneurship journey. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everybody.
Of course. So to everyone listening, make sure that you drop your questions and comments in the chat for Fabrice, and we'll make sure that we get to them at some point throughout the conversation. So before we get started, I'll give a very quick introduction on myself. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I work in marketing at Adidas, and I have an agency background in sports marketing and partnerships. I also do some freelance consulting for brands and nonprofits focused on brand strategy, youth culture, and community. And lastly, I own a vintage shop, online vintage shop called Human Goods. I'm also a Yellowbrick alumni. I took Yellowbrick Sneaker Essentials program a few years ago. It was an amazing experience, and it's been so great to be part of Yellowbrick's robust and diverse community of students and like-minded youth. So really excited and honored to welcome you to our community, Fabrice. So to kick things off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a bit about your background, and what it is that you do in fashion.
Okay, so my name is Fabrice Tardieu. I am originally from Haiti. I moved to the United States in 2004. But before that, I lived 12 years in Paris, where I actually started in the fashion business. I actually parachuted in the fashion business. I was supposed to be in business administration. I was supposed to be in business, not in fashion. And after my college, I wanted to do an internship, and then I wanted to do it in something that I loved, but I always had an eye for fashion. That's how I found a couple of places to do an internship, and I was lucky that one of those places was Giorgio Armani. So I, applied for the intern. They said yes. They took me as an intern for 6 months, and after the third month, I landed my first job in the fashion industry. So that's where I kind of learned the business, and it took me about 7 years to learn it. And I applied everything that I learned in that company, and then applied it for myself, and then founded my first company, built it internationally, and then sold it, and then started my second company, which is now the sneakers. And in a nutshell, that's how I did it until now.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah. So my experience working for Armani, I was first an intern, and I'll never forget an advice that my father gave me in 1998. He told me, my son, you're going to be an intern. I want you to go in that internship as if you own that company. I want you to be the first guy in that company, and I want you to be the last guy out of that company. I want you to swipe the floor as if it was the best floor in the world. And I want to make sure that whatever you do it so meticulously that everybody notices you. Actually, that very little simple thing that my father taught me in 1998 has been how I ran my life. And that has been what's worked for me all along. That's how they notice me at Armani. That's how the people that, when I start to ship my product, when they see the attention to detail, it all came from that standpoint. And that is something that I always, try to tell my child, or I try to tell people that work for me, young kids doing internships or working around this industry. I always tell them, always do what you do like it was the most important thing in the world, and always do it with care, because that goes a long way when you're selling product, because people are feeling the energy that you put in a product, rather in the design, rather in the details that it's in it, or rather in the packaging that you do. When you put care into something, people feel it, and that's how you create clientele. That's how you create, the attention of people that can have access to anything. I know that one of the questions that we were supposed to raise today was about how, I came about having so many celebrities carry my product or wear my product. It's very simple. Celebrities are people too. They understand about, details. They understand about when you put love in a product. And, I'm very proud to say that as a young brand that is not, backed up by a big corporation, I did everything just with the love of the product. What I mean by that is that when you have like celebrities like a basketball player like Dwayne Wade that owns everything, like he likes a product, he sees the attention you put in the detail, and they support young people that work hard. They appreciate that work. And that goes from, someone like him to kings of certain countries. My biggest clients, they're royal family, and so they're, they support it because of that, and they actually own big brands. But the main guy loves what I do because he always likes to look at little things, little details. So what I'm trying to communicate is that when you're young and a young brand in this industry today, you're competing with companies that have millions of dollars that they put in marketing. We all know who they are. Actually, fashion has changed a lot. Fashion used to be about making a product that was beautiful, that had a beautiful fit, the material. Now fashion is how big is your name and how much of your name you can put so people know it's expensive. Unfortunately, it's changed a lot. But we're gonna get back to, fashion is gonna have to change at one point, and going back to what the essence of fashion was, creativity, and design. When you look at some of the brands out there, you realize that there's a big lack of design. They don't take the time to do things, So all these things are gonna change, and people, that's where I make a difference with my brand, because the customer who buys my brand, he doesn't really want to buy a product that has the name everywhere, that's loud. He wants to have something that's subtle, that vehicles a message, and that is very special. Because some people still believe in the special, and that's where I focus to do my niche, because I cannot compete with companies spending $20-30 million in marketing, but I can compete in having a product that I put more love into that product than they do. So that's the whole difference, and that's one of the advice I can give the young people following us today.
That's some amazing advice. So really appreciate you sharing it with us and sharing it with our audience. And I'd like to go back to one thing you said. You mentioned some of the advice that your father had given you. And from what I understand, your first foray into sneaker design was actually using leather pieces from your parents' footwear factory in Haiti. So what advice would you give to aspiring footwear designers and aspiring designers who might want to bring their ideas to life, but don't necessarily have the resources to do so?
I think that I'm gonna take it even a notch further. I'm gonna talk about a mistake I've made, and from that mistake, maybe I can explain how they can learn from it. So even though when I was growing up, I understood I always had a thing for design, because I used to, mess around with my mom's leather materials and play around and put together certain things. But at the end, I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the knowledge of production. I didn't have the knowledge of manufacturing. I didn't understand how things were made. And I've made a lot of mistakes when I started with the shoe business, and I lost a lot of money in the beginning because I didn't have this experience. I jumped in, I invested a lot of money in it, and then I learned the hard way. And this is having sold the company, meaning I had the finances to allow myself to do that. So what I don't want to see, or what I would like to help someone not do, is if you have like some savings, or you've been given some money from family, or when you start your own brand, you should not go start your own brand in the beginning. You should learn. You should go work for someone. You should do an internship. You work for free. That's university. University, you learn a lot of stuff. But when you go to work for a company that's actually active, that's actually in the business, and you learn from them, see their mistakes, see about, the waste in the leather, see about how difficult it is to deal with the department stores, see about the returns, learn the ins and outs of the business for a couple of years, work. Don't worry about the money right away. Focus on the knowledge. Look at your internship or look at your first job as a PhD, because you look at it as you're learning from someone that already paid their dues, and learn on the money they're losing, so that when you go and open yours, you remember all the things that people did wrong, all the things that went wrong when you did this, when you did that. Unfortunately, I had to learn the wrong way, and I always try to tell all the people that work for me, or the kids of my friends, or the people that I meet, asking me questions outside. I always tell them, do not go too fast. Learn, take your time, learn the business, learn the end, learn the outs. It's a very tough business. You can lose money very fast. And there's more companies and more brands that started 8 months ago that are already closed today than there that are successful. When people look at, brands, they always think, oh, it's so glamorous, it's so easy, I'm gonna do my brand. it's a very difficult business. And, you know, you always think that, you know, people are going to support you. They're going to wear it. People like free stuff. So in the beginning, when you start a brand, you know, people are always going to motivate you when they can get free stuff. The second you start to be very focused on how, like, you know, no, you know, you're not giving it away. You have to purchase it. Now, all of a sudden, things start to change. And this is one example I've seen from people close to me that I've seen work with me, for me, young people, amazing creative people. But they had to learn the hard way, even though I told them, go easy on the gifting. You know, people are using you, they're abusing from you. Unfortunately, every artist, every talent, we have that weakness because we want to see our product on people. We need to be strong on day one, and we need to stand our ground on day one, because that's the only way we'll make it through. Because tomorrow, when you're not going to have the funds to reorder, these people are not going to pay for it. So, you know, you have to always be very, you know, believe in your product, believe in yourself, and then, you know, always try to make the product is so good that, you know, people want to pay for it. If they're not paying for it, it doesn't matter who's wearing it. If they're not paying for it, you're not succeeding. That's what I have to say.
That's really important. So I hope that everyone listening can really learn from those mistakes that you've made and learned over the years, and can apply it to their processes as they start to get going with their entrepreneurial endeavors. And now on the theme of processes, I'd love to learn a little bit about what the design process for you looks like when consulting with someone like a Dwayne Wade.
So basically, for me, it's a little different because the way I design my collection is more as a business aspect of things. I may have an idea of something aesthetically beautiful that I may like, but because I don't have the money to invest in the marketing the way the competition does, I always try to find what's lacking in the marketplace. So I basically design based on what I see doesn't exist out there. For the simple question that if I make a shoe like this, okay, it doesn't say one bottle at a time, it doesn't have the FT zippers, it's just a regular sneaker, you know, a brand that is spending millions and has collaborations with athletes that have hundreds of millions of people around the world following them will sell faster than you. But when you realize that they're not doing this or they're not doing that, then you put all your focus on that so you can have your little niche and you stay your ground. So that's why my creative process is very different. I do it based on a need. So, you know, that's the only way I was able to get out of the, you know, the lot, I can say. You know, that's how I do it.
Yeah, and you've definitely crafted a very unique and niche space for yourself. So super admirable.
Yes, you have no choice in these days.
Yes. And the shoe that you just held up, I see some messaging on it, and I've seen a lot of your pieces usually have some positive messages on it. I understand that some of your pieces on the soles actually have a personal motto of yours. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well,
and what this positive messaging?
There's a few things in life that everybody goes through. It doesn't matter rich, poor, black, white, Indian. We all go through the same things. And when these things hit you, okay, there's only one way to deal with it. Is, you know, never pick two battles at the same time. One battle at a time, one day at a time. That is my life model. That is the model that, you know, I've always applied in my design, because this is a fundamental belief that I have within me. And I've found that the honesty behind my messaging is very, very pleased by the people who buy my product, because they can relate to it. So this is another thing, you know, I'm not bluffing, I'm not lying, this is one of the things about my brand. Everything about the brand is so pure and real. When you buy a product from this company, you're buying the essence of the guy behind it. And it's so real that, you know, these people feel they're part of a clique. And, you know, it's very simple, you know, one battle at a time, one day at a time. And, you know, that, you know, is something that I put a lot of, you know, in a lot of my products. I have also launched, with the demand of these messages, you know, they've asked me to do hoodies, t-shirts, which I've started doing also. So I talk about it because I continue with the positivity. I don't know if you can see it. Good vibes only.
Mm-hmm.
So
Love that.
positivity always, I think that it's
Mm-hmm.
much better to communicate on positivity than it is negativity. And,
Mm-hmm.
also when you think positive, always put positive messaging. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I use these things, because they can relate to the people that buy the product, because everybody goes through that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been,
Yeah.
it's been doing really well for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I think, you spoke about relatability. I think everyone listening can really relate to those universal experiences as well. And love to get to some audience questions. So first one I have here, what is the inspiration behind your designs? Where do you find inspiration?
So, again, so one of the most important thing for me, my inspiration comes in, I always like to see what I want to wear for myself. So everything that I design is something that aesthetically relates to me. And then I try to see what the void is on the marketplace. And then I add a little bit of the knowledge of what the void is, and I design based on that. So, that's where the inspiration comes from. Because usually one very important thing with inspiration, in my opinion, with the young guys watching us, if I cannot design, I don't produce only the things that I love, because the things that I love are so crazy they wouldn't sell. So, one of the key things about this business is being able to make a balance on being able to put front the things that you like, so that they understand the concept of it, but the functionality and the comfort of it plays a very important role. So you have to understand how to make the balance. And that's, how I design. So I don't let myself go all the way, because I cannot fail at anything. I don't have the room to fail at a design. So I have to make sure all the designs work. So I have to play it a little safe while betting a little bit. And that's how I create, a little bit of fanciness, but keep it more simple.
Okay. Appreciate you letting us in on your creative process, Fabrice. I think that's really helpful. And that will definitely resonate with a lot of the aspiring designers listening in. So thank you so much for that. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about the process that went between your previous brand, Bogos, and your current brand. Like, what was kind of going through your head at that time and helped with that decision making?
Well, the brand Bogos was a very, very different product with a very different niche. I was mainly making men's shirts with a big collar. It was a very different niche. And, we did it for 10 years. And I felt that, first of all, that style was changing. Since after 2008, 2009, I started to see a shift from the financial crisis that happened. People wanted to be more comfortable, and people, we went from men wearing a lot of shirts to men wearing blazers and t-shirts. We went through that transition. And then I realized they started to, from t-shirts, they started not to wear sneakers. That's how the whole Fabrice thing started. And I wanted to have something that was a little bit more modern. And then personal style, personal taste, I went through a transition also where I no longer wanted to wear a button-down shirt. I wanted to be very comfortable. So that's how I started to design, a different style of brand. And then the most important thing is that at that time, when I was making Bogos, the only thing I could buy was sneakers, shoes, and belts, because I made everything else. So I was buying the sneakers from two brands, and one of them, was my favorite, but they were so expensive. And then I started to see a lot of people start to wear it, and I didn't like the direction. It was losing part of its essence. So I was like, man, I need to create a brand that is cool, but sneakers I can wear, not $1,000, maybe $400-500, very high end, good quality shoes that can fit, a nice suit, or that can be versatile. And then that's how I started designing the sneakers, because I couldn't find what I wanted for myself, and it didn't exist on the marketplace. So I went and filled up that niche. That's how I started with the shoes.
Wow, that's so amazing, and it's so cool to hear about all the different changes that went through your mind and your personal growth throughout all of that as well. So appreciate you sharing it with us. And you spoke a lot about collaborations. Love to go back to that a little bit. What would be your dream collaboration? And whether it's a designer, a brand, otherwise, what's a dream collab for you right now?
my dream collaboration would be to be able to design something that would help my country in a very important way. I don't mean, there's always a million collaborations, a million donations. I mean something that will really help the arts, the people in the arts in Haiti. I come from Haiti, and Haiti, there's so much talent that's being wasted because that country is so destroyed. It's very sad what's going on down there. So my dream collaboration would be something that would have to do with a school in Haiti, or something that would help me, really change things about how I could bring the arts from Haiti to the rest of the world. And that would be my dream collaboration, perhaps with a big, big international artist that really has a lot of influence, something that we would do, that would be a big collaboration for me, something that would touch millions of people's lives. That's a dream collaboration for me.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing that dream collaboration come to life for you. And I think the people of Haiti will appreciate it, and will, it's so amazing for them to have you as representation, because as we know, you can't be what you can't see. So that's super key. We have a question here from Bryce. So I'm just going to read it out for you, Fabrice. What advice do you have for people who want to get started later on in life? I just turned 40 and don't have a great deal of experience in this area. I really love fashion, design, and sneakers, but I'm just not sure where and how to start.
I think one of the way to approach this goes kind of back to what I was talking about. I think the best way to do it is to try to find a job with a company that you like, or that has an aesthetic that you can relate to, and then try to go work for them. If they won't give you a job, tell them you'll do 3 times a week internship, or you do free work, just to be able to learn your way. And then you want to help them understand, and you want also to understand how they run their business. People always need extra help. I think a good way to do it is to try like that first before jumping in. There's no late. Never forget about the KFC story. I think the guy was like 65 years old when he started. Today was one of the biggest food chains in America, around the world. So the point I'm making is that if you're passionate about something, you're talented about something, you should go for it. But also you have to always keep in mind that you shouldn't always jump head first. Try to learn your way through someone, like I said, try to do an internship, work for free for someone, see how they're doing it. And then you'll understand right then and there if it's for you or if it's not. Because, again, people always see the great aspect of fashion, but nobody really knows how difficult it is. And I can tell you, it's a very, very complicated, very difficult business. And, sometimes there are downs and sometimes there are ups, but, like everything in life. So I would say learn from someone and try to work for free for someone. Do an internship. Even if you're 40, 45, it doesn't matter. Work with someone, learn, and then you'll know what you're going to be able to do.
I think the word that I've heard you repeat the most in this past 30 minutes is learn. So what is something that you're wanting to learn more about today?
I think a good way to ask me that question is, if I knew today if I knew yesterday what I know today, what would I have changed? And I would have learned a lot more. I would have worked. I would have worked maybe one more extra year with Giorgio. I would have done one more year on a different side of the business. And the distribution side, from the distribution, I would have gone more on the production side. So I understand that aspect of the business and spend more time with the financial people. I didn't know anything about the financial side of it. I learned in the last 15 years and I'm still learning. So again, learn. You got to learn as much as you can. And there's no better way to learn than on the field.
That's amazing. And one of the great things about Yellowbrick's diverse course offerings is they really do dive into all the different facets of the business, whether it's manufacturing, production. So lots of great courses that speak to that. And I think that one of the things that would really resonate with our audience as we start to close out this conversation is just talking about the future of Fabrice Tardieu. What do you envision in the next 5 years for you and your brand?
Well, I think that already in the next year, there's going to be something quite phenomenal that I'm working on right now for the World Cup of Soccer that's going to be in Qatar in 2022, where I have an amazing collaboration with a major department store there. It's going to be Fabrice Tardieu Qatar 2022's World Cup edition collection. So I'm excited about that. Then my company is going to open a new showroom in Miami in the next 6 months. So that's, also very exciting. And then longer term is having that collaboration that we talked about earlier, trying to help Haiti. So we're working we're working very hard on that. We're just waiting for certain things to happen in the country politically first before we can be able to go and do that. And then last but not least, in the next actually couple of weeks, there is a drop with a very famous cyclist dropping with the brand called Chris Froome. He's a 4-time champion of Tour de France. So, you always have to try to do collaborations and work amongst the fields of things that you love and believe in. Yes. So that's what I'm doing. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely a lot for us and our listeners to look forward to. And it sounds like you have a whole lot on the go. So how do you find balance?
When you do what you love, you never work. I think that's the easiest way to say it. You are at the same time, I find a lot of time to do things, but you know what? Sometimes I'm working and I don't realize I'm working because I love what I do. And I breathe, I do everything for the brand. So it comes very naturally to me. And I think it's the case for every entrepreneur that does, that breathes what they do. We just get it done. We just get it done.
Get it done because you love it so much, and I absolutely love to hear that. Exactly. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to end on, Fabrice? Any words of advice you'd like to give to our listeners and to the students listening?
Absolutely. The most important thing is that patience is a virtue. I've realized that, I have a son. I realized the younger generation, they always want to reach the top, very easily. They're accustomed to simplicity. Back in our days, we had to go to the store, try something, it didn't work, and then you couldn't return. Now it's like online, everything is now. People are not patient anymore. You need to be patient, you need to learn, you need to go to school. After school, you need to have experience, you need to take the time to get to where you're going to get to. Things do not happen overnight. You need to pay your dues before you get the money. That's that's the most important message I can give all the young people watching us right now. Take the time to get to what you're going to get to. Don't jump. Yes, there are cases of people that made it very quickly, but they're very rare. You got to go step by step until you reach your destination. It's a journey. It's not who gets there faster. That's
very well said. Very well said, Fabrice. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak with you and really appreciate you sharing your learnings and experiences with us. I know that this will help so many people who are listening. So thank you so much. And it was an honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care.
Take care.